Welcome to this episode of the Awakening Women podcast. I'm your host, Leanne Oaten. And in this episode, we're chatting about reclaiming your sense of self, or what I call living within your energetic frame. And this is about understanding that we are energy, right? We are made of energy, and we have the power to protect that energy through various ways of being in our relationships and in our life. And one of the things that I have worked on for a very long time, I don't remember really when it all started, but I'd say maybe 2018, somewhere in there. And that's where I started creating the first iteration of my program and the cycle, which is based upon coming back to self. It was probably several years before that I learned about this through mentoring and taking courses from relationship experts and things like that. But so it's been a long time, honestly, that I've been doing this work. All this to say is that I still have to do the work around it. It's not, I was just realizing this the other day. I'm like, well, I'm teaching this to women and I'm constantly guiding them back to self. And I still have to do that for myself. So really, it's important to understand this awakening journey and this journey to self-actualization and this journey to evolving. It doesn't end, but isn't that kind of a good thing? Because when we aren't growing, we're dying, just like a plant. And so I really believe that the key to vitality is to have that growth mindset, to be reaching for that next thing. It's not to be unhappy or ungrateful for what we have, but I know that it's very important to be reaching for that next level of growth, and not from a place of desperation or urgency, or it's coming from that place of unworthiness within, or we don't feel good enough unless we're achieving, right? You get that. It's more, what's next for me and what's the next thing? Because to me, if I'm not doing that, I start to get depressive. I start to want to eat more. I start to not want to get outside and get my exercise or hop on my trainer and do my cardio, or I find I don't want to make content or come on here and share, or I feel like, oh, I've got nothing new to say. And that's when I know I am not tending to those parts of me that want to be inspired, to be connected to self. And so it is a continual journey. So I'm not here to tell anyone that there is this level you reach where everything is perfect. Really, it's about you're committed to the process. There's no quick fix. If you expect a quick fix and then you're going to be one and done and it's all good, you purchase a class or you get some therapy and you think, well, that's it for me. No, that's not the way it works. It's about taking those next steps and getting to those next levels. Not to say therapy is not part of that. It is. I definitely use it in my life when I need it, but it's not the only thing I do. And it's very specific and it's very specialized, the type of therapist that I work with right now. And it's a lot of times, maybe once a month where I meet with my therapist, and it's online, which I love. I love the simplicity of just being able to get on a video call and from the comfort of my own home. I love that. But it's also like, it's one way. There's a multidimensional process to this. And so it's also powerful to get mentoring, which I do have. It's powerful to have a coach when you need coaching, which I do have. There is your own tools and your own practices that you have in there as well. And the things that you do daily as your foundation. This is all part of reclaiming your sense of self. So as a former therapist, I am not knocking therapy, but I know a lot of women get trapped in the therapy hamster wheel and they wonder why they're not getting anywhere just going to talk about it, because it's not enough. It's good for some things if you have a skilled therapist that knows how to take you deep and then pull you out of it in a safe way. So you're not walking. This is one thing I remember very clearly early on in my counseling training, is that you want to make sure that you don't open up all these wounds and then send someone else send someone back out into the world without integrating and bringing them back. And this is why if you're in therapy and you're talking about all this stuff and you're dredging it all up and they look at their watch, like, well, it's been 50 minutes. We're done now. And you had no chance to integrate. There were no action steps for what you need to do in the meantime. How do you cope if things come up between sessions? Do you have support between sessions if things do come up? No, you do not. So this is why it is limited. It's part of a plan. It's part of an overall holistic plan for self-reclamation, okay? All right, so I kind of went off on a tangent there, but I think this is important to the subject of reclaiming your sense of self. I know it is easy for me to forget about myself, what I want, need, feel, and defer to the people around me, which is a fawn response. And I am constantly practicing coming back to my own energetic frame when I start to float around and start thinking about this and that and this relationship and that relationship. This has been work I've had to do in realizing that these are my healing parts to do, right? It's me learning where this started and where it originated and why I do it and how it's not serving me. And it's okay to start to put things into perspective and ask yourself, what do I want now? What's important to me? Like, this is about me now. I get to choose. And that doesn't mean that I'm not thinking about other people in my life, my children and things like that. But when you have spent your whole life trying to fit into a box and be what you think other people need you to be, you get to a place where you're like, I am not doing that anymore. You feel so small and your world gets smaller and you shrink yourself and you slowly wither away and you dry up and there's no inspiration and nobody wants that, right? And so I'm really passionate about this, and I've taught this for a long time, this self-reclamation, and it's actually a whole section in my program. So I just know for me, and I know the women that I work with, so if you're here, you probably relate to this, that you tend toward being very relationship-centric, meaning that you tend to fixate on your relationships. If they're not going well, if they're disconnected, this isn't just romantic. It might be predominantly there, but it's other relationships with children and parents, maybe even, where you tend to just be so other focused, trying to please everyone else that you have lost sight of what you need. So for me, because I am a very relationship focused person, my relationships mean a lot to me. They're important to me. But then what I tend to do is I place more value on that than I do on my relationship to myself. So this has always been my journey, and it will always be. It's a lot easier now than it was in the very beginning. It's very awkward and uncomfortable to start saying, well, I'm focusing on me now. And a lot of things fall away when you do that. All relationships that aren't working fall away when you do that. And so we have to make sure that we're not foregoing our own needs and boundaries or letting things slide in our relationships to try and keep the peace. And so I want you to know, like, I'm here talking about all this stuff all the time, but I'm talking the walk or walking the talk. I'm doing it as well. I'm investing in programs and coaching, and I'm doing my own work so that I can lead better in the work that I do. And this is where a lot of times you can end up in therapy for years with a therapist that's not doing any of their own work, and why you feel like you're not getting anywhere, right? You want someone that's also doing their own work so that they can evolve with you. Now, therapy is actually not meant to be a long-term forever thing either. It really isn't. It's meant to be, it could be something that you like, oh, I've got all these things building up and I just need to talk to my therapist to have a good relationship with them. But it's not meant to be a crutch, and it can become a crutch. And this is where also we are taught that it should be a very short-term focus, right? Short-term focus therapy where, it's 30 days or it's 8 weeks and it's in a container. And then you don't become dependent on that, especially if it's not actually helping you move forward. If it's not you're not actually seeing transformation and your situation isn't changing. You feel like you're just going in every week talking about the same things and nothing's moving. That's a sign you're not working with the right person, by the way. So if you're someone that tends to pour all of your energy and thinking and base your decision making on your partner or a man and you're in a relationship with, it is so important to practice this reclaiming of self work. Coming back into your energetic frame is a beautiful healing process and one I highly recommend, whether you are grappling with staying in your current relationship, leaving it, or if you want to reclaim your life after divorce, or you're considering getting back out into the dating space. I've coached women in all areas of this, and I really enjoy helping women get back to themselves after a difficult long-term relationship where there has been narcissistic abuse or abuse of any kind, where there's just been a lot of self-betrayal, boundary violations, manipulation, all of that. And no longer focusing on what they did. See, this is the other thing with therapy is you can sit there and talk about things and try and unearth the trauma forevermore. It keeps you in that situation. I've also coached women who have been 1 year, 2 year, 3 years out of their divorce, but they're still dealing with issues as if they're still in it. We have to get past that. Those are the things you do in the very beginning. You unearth all of that, but then you don't keep talking about what they did, what they didn't do for years after. Some women sound like they're still in the relationship when I'm coaching them. And I'm like, how long have you been? 3 years. Okay. You're still in that paradigm. You're still in that person's energetic space. So you don't actually have a divorce, right? There's no divorce. You're energetically and emotionally still tied to that. Okay? And so if you're struggling with any of those phases, I can help you with that. Get in touch with me. We can chat about potential private coaching or something else that I might have as a resource to help you where you're at. I do have programs, self-study programs to help you too at every phase. So here are some ways to begin reclaiming the sense of self, which, as I just said, I like to call it living within your energetic frame. I love that because everything is energy. It's like having your own energetic bubble that you are protecting yourself within from anything getting in through that is detrimental to you, your mental health, your physical health, your safety. And also, I want to add in here that this is also using the integration of masculine and feminine energies, which is, again, a spin-off that I have not heard anyone talking about as it pertains to this particular topic that I've been talking about for over 6 years now. And so I am bringing this to you as a natural extension of my own work that I've been doing for the last couple of years around bringing this element into my own personal healing work. And for me, the mentors, coaches, and therapists that I work with, they have to have this. They have to have that spirituality lean. They have to be able to do the energetic work as well. Like I had a session too that was really cool where my therapist put me through like a somatic exercise. And I know a little bit about this, but I'm not an expert by any means. But it was really cool. And then something really uncanny happened during that session that was a really weird confirmation. And it was just really neat. Like it's doing the psychological work, the emotional work, but bringing in the energy. And this is what I've done since I opened my counseling practice 10 years ago. At first, my practice was called Soul Work Holistic Counseling and Wellness. And I brought in the mind, body, spirit integration. And it's why a lot of people loved working with me, and they still love working with me because I do bring those aspects in. And I just haven't really talked about it a lot here on the podcast. So I'm changing that. I'm bringing more of who I am coming out of the spiritual closet, I guess, and bringing more of what I actually am about, because maybe that's something that you really love as well, and you haven't been able to find that. So let's dive into this. So number 1 is reconnect with your inner wisdom. So your feminine energy is your deepest source of intuition. When you can tap into this inner knowing and follow it, you start to build self-trust, which a lot of women will say, I don't trust myself. I don't know if I'm reading this right. This is why you have to do this work to reintegrate that trust within yourself. Practice listening and being. So you're listening to yourself. You're listening to other intuitive messages or spiritual messages. And then you're being. And then from there, you're doing. Okay, you're doing. We're going to get into that. Number 2 is setting boundaries with clarity and courage. Setting clear boundaries is not only a way to defend your emotional space, but also to honor your self-worth. When you set boundaries, you're stepping into your power and demonstrating to yourself that you deserve respect. So, when you start to realize you deserve respect, you will not tolerate disrespect. Everything starts within you. Every single thing that you are seeing happening to you as it pertains with how people are treating you starts and resides and ends within you. Number 3, choose yourself over self-sacrificing for others. Self-love comes from choosing yourself over and over again. Breaking free from a relationship that isn't working means recognizing that your needs and your happiness matter just as much as anyone else's. Number 4, release victimhood and step into your power. Masculine energy is all about leading and taking responsibility and action, which we talked about in a previous episode. You have the ability to make choices and reclaim your personal power at any point. It's time to stop seeing yourself as a victim of circumstance and instead become the empowered leader of your own life. Number 5, embody self-protection. We talked about this in the polarity episode, just the sort of intro to this diversion in topic. If you haven't listened to that episode a few episodes back, please listen to it to understand the masculine traits. But we talked about how masculine energy is about protection, but you also have to self-protect. So masculine energy offers you the clarity and the discipline to remove toxic people and move away from people who are harming you and to safeguard your peace. When you protect your energy, you're showing and demonstrating to yourself your own strength and self-respect. Number 6, trust in your needs and desires. The feminine part of you is deeply connected to your desires. It's time to reconnect with what you want, not just what you think you should settle for. Trust that your desires are valid and worthy of being met. Your inner feminine knows what feels right, and it's time to honor that. And number 7, create a new life vision for your life. Breaking free from toxic cycles is a creative process. Your feminine energy invites you to imagine a life full of joy, peace, and fulfillment. Meanwhile, your masculine energy helps you turn that vision into reality with focused effort and consistent action. So again, it's the focus and the consistency. And the focus comes from having clarity on what the heck you're supposed to be focusing on. If you're just haphazardly doing this, that, and the other, dabbling in this, dabbling in that, you are spread too thin and you're not harnessing that energy of the focus, and there's no consistent action. But with those together, they combine to create a new life where you can actually thrive. You start to move the needle forward and see the light at the end of the tunnel. So again, it's really important to understand that healing is about an integration of both energies of the feminine and masculine. True healing comes when you're balancing both. Your feminine side nurtures your emotions while your masculine side empowers you to take action and move. When both are in harmony, you can break free from the trauma of all of this drama of narcissistic abuse and create the life you truly desire and deserve. And it starts with that reclaiming your sense of self through some of the steps I've given you here today. Obviously, it's not exhaustive, but those are 7 places that I would have you to begin if we're working together. And if you want some help with this and some support, whether it's with the relationship you're in, if it's making the decision about if you should stay and work on it, and if so, what are the things to focus on, or if you have already left and you're wanting help with that other side, I help you with both of those pieces. So get in touch with me. There is a link in the show notes of this episode to book your next level consultation, or else check out some of my self-study course options and my End the Cycle program. At this time, there is a one-on-one 30-day intensive, as well as the self-study 30-day program. All right, so hopefully this has inspired you to take some new steps, move in a new direction. And it is about choosing you. And when you're in a relationship that's not working and you don't know where to place your energy, that's where you place it. You've heard me say this. This is not anything new. That is about refocusing on yourself and making a decision. And the decision might be, I need to figure out what I'm doing because I can no longer do what I'm doing right now. I can't keep doing this. And so something needs to give, something needs to change. And maybe that's what you're feeling. You're wanting to get over the holiday hump. And then there's going to be this New Year energy. We all experience it. And it's this calling of like, okay, what's next? What do I want to accomplish, be, do, experience, feel in the next year, like 2025? And if you continue to be who you've been being, it's going to be the same year. In fact, it will probably likely end up getting worse if you keep doing the same thing over and over. Because again, if you're not growing, you're dying. And that goes for a relationship as well. So if you are fed up and you're ready to do something and you want to experience your next level in your life, business, income, all of those things, and you want to show up as a mother in a different way, and you want to figure out this relationship that is weighing you down and draining you so that you actually have that energy freed to do the other things, then that's where mentoring comes in. And I recognize that investing in coaching and mentoring is a luxury. It really is. It shouldn't be. I think there'd be a lot less pain, suffering, and struggle in this world if more people saw the value in investing in themselves over going on a vacation or buying expensive vehicles or living in expensive houses or having to spend their money on all these other frivolous things, and instead invested it on themselves. What different world we would live in. Honestly, I really believe that, truly believe that, and I live that. And so, it is a luxury in a sense, in that it's not a need or a necessity, but it is something for high-level women. It's for women who know that in order to reach their next level, they need to get mentoring from someone who's steps ahead of them. You always want someone to be maybe hopefully like a couple of years ahead of you, right? That's how I look at it. I think about it like if I'm talking about something or I'm sharing about something, I have been immersed in it for at least a couple of years before I start talking about it and trying to teach it or bring it into my work. I'm not the type to just read something and then think that I'm an expert in it instantly and I'm a trauma therapist. I'm doing the work along with all of you, and I like to bring that and integrate it into the work with the work I do with my clients. So if you would like to invest in yourself to get the help that you need, to get the support you need, so you can start reclaiming your life, then go ahead and click the link in the show notes to get started. Either book a call with me or check out one of my programs. All right, that's it for this one. I'll chat with you in the next one. Bye for now.